Well, here we are. Today is April 28th. I like to timestamp things, even though there's dates everywhere on the internet now, but I still like to do it. Hi, Taylor. Today's election
Hello.
day in Canada. We're
Happy
having a good
Election
time.
Day.
Thank you. I voted. So did my kid. I have one who's of age, Catherine. You've met her last week when we were in Huntsville together. And so she voted. Her boyfriend voted as well. So we did our part.
That's all you can do.
That's all I can do.
You
And
can't complain if you don't get out and go vote.
that's what, and now I have, you know how the people are when they just get to that age and it's a little bit black and white, right? And so we've had long conversations with my new voter about the strategic voting and how you research things and whether or not other people should be really voting. There are people who say, if you really believe X or Y or Z, maybe it's okay if you forget to vote. We have had those conversations, but the point is well taken with it. I mean, I joke about this, but my kid and their friends, like it's a small sample, but the kids I know, the teenagers I know, and young adults that I know really take this seriously, and that gives me all kinds of hope for the
Great
future.
hope.
The kids will rescue us, I think, from this mess that
Hopefully.
we're creating. So at least
Hopefully, uh,
somebody will do it.
Canada's children will. Anyway, I don't know about America so much. The small
Well,
sampling I know of them, I'm just maybe I'm glad I'm not going to be around by the time they get up there. I don't know. It's a scary world down here.
it is. And I have this feeling today with the Canadian election that I think we've understood the assignment up here. And interestingly enough, the first person to wish me good wishes for election day this morning was a dear American friend.
Mm,
And people are watching. It's not because they care about me because they're my friend. It's just that it's also a very interesting experiment that's happening right now. We've seen what Donald Trump is doing to your country and ours and other
the
countries,
world,
and the world, and here in Canada, I think we're reacting. He's a Canadian, right? The actor who plays
How
Austin
apropos
Power,
there.
Mike
Yes.
Myers. He,
Mike
he
Myers,
actually did.
right.
Yeah, to diverge a little bit, but maybe I'll put a link to that.
Right.
He's
We'll
done some
link it back
advertising.
around. Yes.
Yeah, he's done some advertising with the Liberal leader, current prime minister, and who I think will be prime minister tomorrow again, Mark Carney. So he's done some elections, and he was asked recently because he's a famous actor. Everybody knows Mike Myers, and he was
This is
asked like,
true.
why did you get involved in Canadian politics? I've had it. Like I'm paraphrasing him, but he said he got angry. The
Mm,
51st state business. No, even though he lives in the U.S. and has lived in the and loves he loves being there, but don't do this to my country. Like he's a
right.
Canadian, and like we don't do this. So elbow up, elbows up. That's been our little motto for a while.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So I think that this is going to be a good result. I think we'll show. I want to say we'll show the world. Like, look at us go. But I do think that we'll show that it is possible. You can get in the way of this toxicity, of this nonsense, this chaos. It's not about being a populist versus a liberal. It's not a right wing versus left wing. It's about respecting the institutions of governance versus not. And I think that will show that it can be done, it should be done, and yeah, other countries should now do the same thing, basically.
Right. It's not that hard. Oligarchies
It
do
is
not
not that
work,
hard.
you know?
Yeah. Now, at the risk of hogging this whole conversation, but it is
No,
about
it's a big
Canada
day,
today, so
right?
I'll
It's
go ahead.
Canada's
It is a big
day.
day.
Like, I'll
I
be
wanted
backup
to.
dancer today, you know?
So there you go. I wanted to talk about one specific thing interesting that's happening here is that, and I'll say this for American viewers, in Canada, in our parliamentary system, the person who's the head of government, the prime minister, must also have a seat in the House of Commons. That means they have to be elected as a member of parliament we call them ridings here, but in the US, we call them districts. So they must have a seat in parliament. And so the leaders of each party is also running in their own district. Typically, it's a safe district, so they don't have to worry too much about it. So it's kind of an automatic thing. And the current leader of the Conservative Party, who's our Maple Trump or MAGA, Maple MAGA, we like to call him, Trump-inspired person. His name is Pierre Poilievre. His writing, and he's represented this area for about 20 years, is here in the Ottawa area. It's the writing of Carlton for people who want to look it up. And a little over 2 years ago, a good friend of mine who lives in that writing, his name is Bruce Vanjoy, called me to say, "What do you think? What would you think if I try to run against Pierre Poilievre?" Because I said somebody has to stand up to this and be in the way of this toxicity. And Bruce at the time had been looking for someone to take this on. Didn't think of himself as wanting to do this, but then nobody wanted to do it because it was not an interesting, like, how would you like to go and take on the leader of a party who's like a Trumpy style politician and with almost zero chance of winning? Like, how would you like to spend the next 2 years doing this job? Nobody wanted to do that. And so Bruce decided, well, I guess I'll have to do it. He is retired. He has enough privilege that he was able to devote years of his life not knowing when the next election would be exactly. And he's decided that he could do that. And he's knocked on over 15,000 doors
Wow.
since then, talked to just about everyone in the district. And it's gotten to be so successful, his campaign, that it was front page news here late last week that both the conservative and the liberal war rooms, according to people, like, it's anonymous leaks, but I that's my sense as well. His seat is in play. Like, I think Bruce has a really good chance of winning it tonight.
Exciting.
Yeah, there's one wrinkle though, is that there's one group, it's called the Longest Ballot Committee, and their deal apparently is to flood a particular ballot in one particular district with pretend candidates. So these are real people who put up their names at the last minute as an independent candidate. And the result of that is that in the writing of Carlton tonight, there's 91 people on the ballot, which gives you a piece of paper this big.
That's
and it's
a large
unwieldy.
ballot. Yes.
That's a large ballot, and it's causing Elections Canada some challenges and headaches on how to count this, and not wait until to ensure that we don't have to wait until like 6 a.m. for those results. So this is a bit, I wrote a column about this. I didn't call this very smart. They're trying to make a point that our electoral system needs changing and needs a good update. And I don't disagree with that, but that's not the way to do it.
Not the way.
It's ridiculous.
So,
yeah.
do y'all normally count ballots the
Yes,
same as we
by
do
hand.
with y'all do by hand?
Uh-huh.
So we do, I believe, the machines first, and then in questionable situations they'll go back by
Right.
hand. So it's imperative that all ballots be the same size, or if it doesn't go
Well,
through the
they're
machine,
doing-
then you've got to
Yeah.
do it all by hand.
And it's done by
Yikes.
hand, and it's done. So Elections Canada, and it's, up here, I have to say, and I don't want this to change, please, we have a good deal of credibility when it comes to the running of elections. Like, it's an
Yeah.
independent agency, and actually the chief electoral officer, that's interesting for nerds, the chief electoral officer of Canada, so the person who oversees Elections Canada, is the only citizen with no right, who does not vote in federal elections while they have that job. It's just
Okay.
like, you have to be whiter than white, right? You're the one in charge of this system. You're not going to
Wow.
participate in it. So they've explained, they came out late last week with a little video and a post on social media and elsewhere, explaining how they were going to go about counting the votes in this particular riding, so that they would be, we hope, not too delayed by
Wow.
the stunt. So yeah, I'll be in Manotick in that riding tonight. I'll be with Bruce Vanjoy, so I'm hoping that
Exciting.
really, really good
Fingers
news to
crossed,
report.
right?
I
We're
hope
sending
so, yeah.
positive vibes
Mhm,
down from
mhm.
Alabama up to you
Yeah.
guys. Hopefully, y'all have learned from our
I know.
bad
Thank
example.
you for showing us not to do this. Yeah.
right.
Right.
Big orange,
So that's my update.
Oh.
It's a big one, but yeah, and
Well-
it's going to be a very long night, but that's okay.
Yes. So we have a big update in Alabama.
Hmm.
I am not the proudest to say that my alma mater is hosting Donald Trump for commencement ceremony coming up in
Right.
May.
Right.
It doesn't get more ick factor than that.
I saw Rachel Maddow on her show. She read a letter or some kind of communique from the student Democratic group. I forget their name exactly, but they're the
But yes,
and who were very much against that. And then I think the university said something about that it was not going to be the commencement address itself. It was going to be like a commencement adjacent kind of speech, a special kind of ceremony. I think they're trying to walk it back, but can't.
Yeah,
Is it
right.
possible?
I think it's too far gone at this point. What
Right.
they're saying
Right.
now is it's not a mandatory
Right.
event because that weekend they'll have 8 different commencements. It's a large university for here in the South.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's the end of spring semester. It's not like the end of fall semester. You don't have as many
Right.
on the half year mark, but they're saying it's not necessary to go, but they're also sending out these list of rules if you do
Oh,
attend. So there's no noisemakers, there's no signs, there's no heckling, there's no yelling, and a failure to comply could result in banned from the university. Um, Obviously, they would kick you out of the arena, but they
okay.
could even hold your diploma. You've worked, you've paid, you've done all the work for 4 years,
Few years for
and
yeah.
you're going to say fuck Donald Trump, for lack of a better word, and they're going to keep your diploma just to coddle this adult baby so nobody hurts his feelings.
So
You know,
this is the president who's all in favor of freedom of speech, right? Remind me, was that the
that's
guy
the
who was in
one.
favor?
Yes, that's the
Is the
exact
same
one
freedom of speech that he's
that we
okay?
control. Like we're
Does
very
it
North
hurt to be
Korea.
this illogical? Does it hurt somewhere?
It
It must.
exhausts my mind. It exhausts my mind. And so, and I just wish it had been Auburn instead of Alabama, like not
Right.
my alma mater,
Right.
go to the
Yeah, I'm
other school
sorry.
in Alabama.
That's unfortunate.
Yes,
Maybe you'll
it's
get sick and won't be, or fall asleep on the way and then won't be able to make it. Like I don't want to
fingers,
wish anybody because it's my karma. I don't want to
right?
go
Karma will
there.
come back, but,
But maybe like at the Pope's funeral, he'll just fall asleep in his chair.
or wear blue to Alabama, where,
Is that awful? He was the only guy in blue. Like,
oh,
how do you not know to wear black at a
black to a
funeral?
funeral. Your wife, like, did y'all not communicate? She was dressed to the nines in black and had on this lace headpiece that was designer and amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm mind blown because when the president of Ukraine, Vladimir, was here, they were giving him a
Right.
hard time because he didn't have on a suit. Well, you don't have a black suit at a funeral. Like, that's just a given. Like, who doesn't know at that age? Like,
Yeah.
mind blown.
Yes, I saw a joke on the. I see a lot of jokes on social media, but one of them was Donald Trump was upset that the ceremony was not about the funeral was not about him, and
That
so were the
part.
others.
That part. Yeah.
So were the others. Oh, we're bad. We're bad.
But
But
it's,
he's
wishful
kind of
thinking,
yeah.
like, I don't
Well,
think he
one
would
day, I
have
mean,
that many.
nobody
Right.
nobody's
Nobody lives
eternal.
forever. I just don't think that
Hmm.
many people would be at his funeral.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go.
that's true.
I'm not standing in
So
line for it.
no, no, me neither. Or maybe just to go and make sure.
Just double check, a little
That's right.
pulse check.
Um,
Okay, so I've got to ask something just because of
yes.
curiosity and with your election today. I should have looked up the people running, but are
Mhm.
any of them as good looking as Justin Trudeau was?
The
Like, that's what y'all were known for here in the States. Your
hair,
prime minister.
especially.
Right. Like, he was
Mm.
known like the French president.
Emmanuel Macron.
That's the
Yes.
one.
Uh-huh.
They're the guys with the hair on the political
Oh,
stage.
yes. But I'll say something in favor of Justin Trudeau is that his looks were natural. Emmanuel Macron has a huge. I mean, not he's he's a fine looking person, but his budget for makeup and hair and clothing is out of this
That's.
world.
I think
Whereas
that's a
Justin
French thing.
Trudeau's, yeah, I mean Justin Trudeau's kind of French too. I mean French Canadian, mind you, but
But
and
in
while he wears
Paris,
good clothes, like he wears good quality clothes,
great
and
suits,
for
handmade.
sure he has when on television like everyone else has makeup. But I know his hairdresser. She did the hair of just about all the other leaders back in the day. Nothing special, but I mean she's great, but like it's nothing. It's not $20,000 a month. Like who was that an American president at some point? He had just ridiculously John Edwards, who had ridiculously expensive haircuts. See, I follow things. The serious side of politics.
Right, that's what we keep
I'm
up
on
with
it.
here.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the
yeah. How
looks and
much
the
is your
hairstyles.
haircut?
Right.
Mhm.
What
But
label are you wearing? We need
that's
to
right.
know.
But the short answer, well, it depends what you find attractive. I will say that our leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, our mini Trump guy, has made a bit of a name for himself, wearing those like muscle shirts and like, very tight around
Mm,
I try not to objectify people, but the pectoral muscles, that kind of
right.
very, so they were very tight. He also sat in there's no other word than man spreading. He's done that quite a bit, and the
Gotcha.
aviator shades there for a
Uh,
while. So the look of oh, did I accidentally flash you my biceps? Gosh, so we
so
have that.
he's that candidate. Okay.
Yeah, he's 45 years old, and I mean he's in good shape too. So it did like he trains and so on.
Right.
So I guess if he wants to show this off, that's his business. And otherwise, you know what? I'm
Whatever gets you a
nobody,
vote,
no,
right?
yeah, whatever. Nobody particularly floats my boat. If you wanted to go
Well,
there, but
he was just
but I will say,
known
yeah, go for it.
in America here for he was the guy with the hair. He was the pretty prime
Right,
minister because
that's
Britain's I
right.
don't think was very pretty when he went in.
The other thing about Justin Trudeau that we have to give him is that he really genuinely cared about people. He met people, did a whole bunch of selfies and so on. He was approachable, relatable to the I mean, clearly this is a guy with a very unique experience, was born when his father was prime minister, has lived all his life in the public eye, and has enough money to be, he's not super wealthy, but has enough money to be comfortable and not to have to worry about it. So it's not that relatable in that respect, but he's down to earth enough and really actually do care about people and takes the time to listen to them, and he would hug people when they had issues or whatnot. So he was very approachable, and that's a good thing. But now that, now that his welcome was done, like people were
Mhm.
done with him, he's disappeared completely, did not reappear during the campaign, and I think that worked well for the Liberal Party because it made a clean break.
Right, you
Like he was no
distance.
longer any popular. We were done with him. People were sick of him for what, rightly or wrongly, they were.
It happens.
And the new guys coming in saying, okay, now things are different, and it's worked. And clearly, Mark Carney is not he's not the same guy at all. Very different styles, very different. Like some people were joking that Mark Carney thinks about the economy more between the time he gets up and brushes his teeth than Justin Trudeau has done in the last 10 years.
Mm.
Like it's just that's what he's thinking about a lot. And so this is what we're getting ourselves into now, is somebody who will clearly put that first and say feminism second. Not that feminism is unimportant, but at the moment, in this time, we have to meet the
We
moment we're in,
the
and
economy
that's the
needs to
moment we're in.
be somewhat stable because it's not down here and
That's right, and
401k
we
suck.
right. And so this brings me to this other thing about Alabama, and Alabama's not the only state to have, try to regulate drag events or book readings or plays or what have you. And I always want to say, and it's not original with me, but did a drag queen ever slash your 401k? No, they never did that, right? They do
No,
their show and they do their thing, and like nobody got hurt by a drag queen show. But for some reason, some people, including in the state of Alabama now, are trying to regulate, those events. And it's, it's again, does it hurt to be this illogical? Because apparently, the problem with this bill is that it may get in the way of some theater productions, including in school, because a little girl won't be able to play the role of a masculine character in a theater play, if that
it's
happens to be what needs to happen for whatever reason, including that there's no boys in theater, right? Like, what do you do? What do you tell your kids? Like, no, you may not play that role just
it,
because there's a bill. I mean, it's just like I
it's
just want to say,
crazy
is this really the biggest problems that we
that
have
we've
to?
got going on, and like, uh, and I can give it to them. Like, if you don't want, if it's a ban on drag queens, grown men, that dress the part, and they're not in schools or libraries. Okay, that's great. If I want to take my child to drag brunch where they're reading stories, then I can still take my child. But to take away their artistic experience and freedom when they're in school,
Mhm.
especially here in Alabama, you don't have a lot of guys that go into theater in high school. That
Right.
might be, people might look at that odd. So you're going to have more girls and girls playing guys' roles. And
Hmm.
I, everybody loved Tootsie, the TV show. Everybody loved
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Doubtfire.
Right?
Um, Aerosmith, dude looks like a lady. Like all the things. Um, and I get that that could be scary to people. Eh, at the public library, that's is that federally funded? I don't know, or public schools. Okay, keep it out of there if your bill wants to do that. But after that, I mean, stay out of the theaters. Let the
Hmm.
kids do what's best for the kids.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's crazy that that's what we're worried about.
I
Not that
know.
the kids have enough to eat or can eat over the weekends or are passing their test.
Mm.
Like it's crazy, silly.
What else do we have going on this week?
Oh, what is going on? We had open studio night here, which was Saturday, so that was last week, but it was a big night here at the mill. Um, we're getting ready for the mural. I think next week that will be
Hmm.
started. Get the
Hmm.
wall prepped, have the crane brought in. So you'll be able to see that next time you're in town. I'm trying to think what else. That's about it. I'm dealing,
All right.
you know, just the day to day this week.
Hmm. So it's the 100th day. So Donald Trump will mark his first 100 days in office on Wednesday, which happens to
Yes.
be 2 days after election. He's going to do that somewhere in Michigan, not too far from the border. And so some people were speculating, because we love speculating. It's like, is he going to wave at us? He's going to say, "Okay, now can we have
Right.
a deal now, Canada?" Because that was the whole thing, right?
I've
We need
made
to
it
elect a
100
new prime
days.
minister to start those negotiations for a new trade agreement on different terms,
Right.
maybe terms that he might not like. Anyway, we'll see how far his art of the deal takes him on that one. But his approval ratings, was I seeing that in the both the New York Times and the Washington, those woke newspapers, um,
Right.
people with numbers and who do their fact checking. But anyway, his approval ratings are going like that. I
Like,
saw one as low as 39%.
and I think even Fox News reported 38 or 39%.
Oh
So
boy,
it's
that must
across the
hurt.
board. Right.
That
I was
must,
like, that's
yeah.
got to stink.
Hmm.
The art of the deal. I think he's got the art of the Alzheimer's, and he's forgotten what he wrote in that book now because
Hmm.
we're not making any
If he did
deals.
write it,
If right,
you're being Jim.
we don't even know if we're talking to President Xi in
Mm-hmm.
China. China says we're not. We say we are. Who knows? Um,
But this gives me hope. We can make fun, and for sure we should make fun
right.
of how badly things are, and this early in a mandate. But it gives me hope because among those majority now or plurality of Americans who disapprove of the work he's doing, clearly there are some of his voters,
It
people
got to
who
be.
like just 6, 7. I can't do math, but in November voted for him, who are not happy with what he's doing, and I don't read tea leaves too far because I tend to make mistakes when I make predictions about the future. I try to make predictions about the past. It's much safer, but
Absolutely.
but there's nothing I see on the horizon, short or medium term, that would make those numbers change directions.
Mm, no, no. The big thing was the cost of living, the price of eggs. We're going to be
They're still
rich, rich,
expensive.
rich. Yes. And now they're saying in the ports that shipping is going to be down by 40% at least. So store shelves are going to be running out of said items, whatever, back to school or fall, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to be there to purchase. Well, and that hurts spending.
Everyone.
And
Mm-hmm.
from Target, they were and Walmart were at the White House the other day having a conference with the president about,
Right.
what are we going to do? But it's if the big boys are worried about it, mom and pop,
Right.
it's even more dire for
Right.
the small
That's right.
local business. And I'm in a business of local artists, and some make their living like this. And it's, when things get tight, it really puts a strain on all industry. And it shouldn't have to be like this just because we're trying to play the
Mm-hmm.
art of the deal. But nonetheless, that's
Yeah.
what we have.
And retail politics, especially if you're a populist politician, like to know that somehow the treasury rates are down or the Dow Jones is down so many points versus so many other points, like it's a little remote for a lot of people, right? Because they
They don't
don't really
follow.
follow
Yeah.
these things. But if they can't get sticks of glue for their kids for back to school, or if they can't get like something very, very tangible, and it could be anything, but if they
So
don't get that, or it's too expensive, that they understand and that they yell about.
this is what seems to go first here, and it happened in the pandemic. It happened in the Great Recession, but toilet paper is the first thing that disappears off the shelf. Like,
But it's really necessary, you know?
I mean, I get that, but you still have I get it, but there's a lot of things that I'm going to worry about going off the shelves other
Right.
than just the toilet paper of brand. So
Right.
I don't know.
But
That's the first thing
something
that
at
goes
some
here.
point, something's going to catch fire, so to speak. And
Hopefully sooner than later.
that's yes, and I hope so too, because the longer it takes, the more painful it is for most people, including
Mhm.
people who don't have that many options, right?
Right.
So I'm hoping, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I think that to come back full circle to what we started with, I do think, with all the fingers crossed and all the
Right.
toes crossed, that the results of tonight's Canadian election will be one big push in that direction.
Well, maybe y'all can adopt us once y'all get y'all's business settled. How about
I
that?
don't know. Can you promise to behave? Because
I
we've been living
can.
above this meth lab for some time. Okay,
I
I'll
like.
take you.
You're right. I like my teeth in my head. I promise I'll behave.
Okay, then yeah, I'll consider that on a case by case basis.
Okay.
How about?
Case by case. I like it.
All right. So keep good thoughts in your mind for us tonight, and
Yes, and I'll
yeah,
touch
we'll
base
talk.
with you tomorrow, and then we'll talk next week.
All right. Well, you
Good
have a
luck.
great
Have fun
evening.
tonight.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Night.